Hi, I'm Steve Walkenshaw. I started going to church very young, grade school. My mom took me to church. Didn't really want to go, but I went anyway. We went Sunday night, and Wednesday for a while. And then gradually got away from that. Got into high school, and my best friend was my preacher's son, and they moved, and I sort of moved out of church after that. Yeah, as a kid going to church, it was mostly just my mom and my grandmothers. My dad never went. He would be drugged to church occasionally, and always had bad experiences. And my grandfathers didn't go, so it was pretty much just my mom and my grandmothers. I could see what looked fun and appealing to my granddads, and didn't see the good tempered side of life by my grandmothers. And my grandmothers had a lot of influence on me. They probably had as much influence on me as anybody. And my granddads also, but not always things that I would want to pattern myself or my sons after. And that's one of the reasons when I had kids, I thought, no, they're going to have a male role model at church. And not only me, but a lot of other guys that I hope that the boys modeled themselves after like I did. I had some men at my church when I was a little kid. In fact, there's still one that I still really look up to. And he never knew it. You know, I was like 5th or 6th grade, but I still think about him a lot. Very strong guy and very dedicated Christian, but he was I wouldn't say macho guy, but he showed me you could be a Christian and still be a man. When I was 18, I was playing baseball pretty much out of church, and we were in a car coming home from a game one night and got hit by a train. And we survived it, but it kind of made me stop and think, what if I hadn't made it? And then a few months later, I met Diane, nothing like a good woman, and God used her to sort of direct me back the right way. We started going to church here at CCUMC 21 years ago. The boys were young, and I knew the minute I came to this church, it's where I wanted to go. I think Jesus has become part of our family. It's not just something we do on Sundays or when you go to church. I think it's personally gotten, as I've matured as a Christian, it's become more of my life. It's not just something I do on Sundays or, like I said, when I come to church on Wednesdays or whatever. I come here to get recharged and then go out and try to live it the rest of the week. I mean, Sunday's kind of like a pep rally, I think, for Christians. You go and get charged up, and then you're ready to go out and take the game to the world the rest of the week. Yeah, one of the things I like about this church is I got a lot more involved than I was before in church. And I learned pretty quickly after starting going to church here that you never say you will never do anything. Because I started doing things that I never said I would do. I actually stood up and started singing in front of people. Did a lot of things I said I'd never do. And I loved every bit of it. Gotten involved with a lot of things. And found out it's not about you get anything out of it, it's what you put into it. And everyone here is like my family. The reason I started working with the youth actually was to thank God for my boys who were not perfect, but they were good boys. They turned out good, they were healthy. You know, God's really blessed them and Diane and I with our sons and our granddaughters. And I wanted to give back to God by working with other youth, not just my own kids. I mean, I coached Little League, basketball, and all that, and I always liked working with kids when the boys were small. And trying to carry it on now in God's house. I just like to show the youth that you can have fun and be a Christian. Oh, the time almost died. Well, that's debatable. Some people said I did die. But whatever happened, it was a very real experience. It's changed my life totally. It's like God gave me a second chance, and I'm not gonna waste it. But we were diving, and I started having some problems, and my dive buddy Chris and I, we surfaced, and I surfaced too fast, and I said we went up too fast, didn't we? He said, yeah. So we went back down for a couple of minutes, and it just got worse and worse and worse. I just wasn't getting any air. And so when we did surface the second time, I don't remember it. Chris said I talked to him, and then the next thing he knew, he turned around and looked, and I was blue. I passed out in the water. And they got me on a boat, got all my dive gear off of me, started doing CPR on me. From what I understand, only like 5% of people survive CPR without a defibrillator, but God chose to let me come back, and it was quite an experience, to say the least. You know, when I thought I was dying, I really was expecting, I was arguing with God, telling him no, I want to take care of my family. I guess I said that like 30 or 40 times. And I couldn't see anything. It was like I was asleep. Well, I mean, it's like before you wake up in the morning. I couldn't see anything, but it was as real as anything. In fact, I thought for a minute that God was almost testing me, and that he was going to take me, and I wasn't ready to give in yet. And I was telling him, no. And then I finally realized, well, wait a minute. I'll get to go to heaven. I'll see Jesus. I'll see my family that's gone on before me. And it's like as soon as I said, okay, I woke up. And at that point I saw Ben's face, and I thought, I think part of the reason I fought so hard was because Diane had sent me some pictures of her and Abby, and I was looking at them that morning. Just before we went to dive, I did 50 push-ups, and I prayed that God would give us a fun, safe time. And I know I just had a desire to stay here and take care of my family. God is real. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind after what I experienced. I never felt I never knew God as close as I did the day I thought I was going to go see him. Like I said, when I decided I'll get to go to heaven, and I really expected when I opened my eyes I'd see Jesus. And I didn't. Obviously, I was awake on a bright, sunny Sunday afternoon, and a long trip to the hospital and 4 days in the hospital before I got to fly back home. Thank God there have been no long-term effects from it, but it did change my life, and I always enjoyed life before that, but now I enjoy it, but I also look at it with a temperament of how serious the thing is. If you don't know God, I can't imagine what would have been like to have been in that spot and not know God. I'd have been fighting for sure then, but it would have been a whole different way. I mean, I was ready to go to heaven and be with Jesus, but he chose to let me stay here, and I'm trying to use that blessing, that opportunity to serve him as best I can.